From 16th Street, Indianapolis, it's normally a 5-hour drive to a track situated north of Milwaukee, but virtually it's only a few clicks away as we welcome you to Road America, America's National Park of Speed. It's located in Elkhart Lake and hosts the fourth and penultimate round of the Ricmotech Road to Indy Presented by Cooper Tires, the iRacing eSeries that allows our up-and-coming talent to duel virtually on iRacing, with all coverage today on Apex Racing TV. We also want to welcome our Canadian audience from the MAVTV Motorsports Network around Road America, a 4-mile circuit, 6.5 kilometers in a clockwise layout with 14 corners around a circuit sometimes referred to as the Spa-Francorchamps of the US. Believe me, there are some people who do say that. 48 meters of elevation change around here. It's another 45-minute race coming up, but we're currently in a 15-minute qualifying. The drivers will have 4 laps maximum in this qualifying session. Expect them to run that fuel down to the brim. 600 meters run from pole position to turn 1-2. It's going to be an absolute joy to watch these drivers on that pace lap once the green flag waves. And from myself, Jonathan Simon, welcome to the coverage. I'm alongside each and every round this season, joined by the voice of Road to Indy, Rob Howden. And Rob, I'm ready for Road America. All we've been discussing pre-broadcast is brat versus sausages, though.
Yeah, this particular facility is just such an iconic racetrack here. It's not just about the facility itself, the racetrack. Again, you called it the America's National Park of Speed, but it's the experience of coming to Road America. One of the biggest things is all the food stands that are around the racetrack and all the different corners, the different groups that have different menus at everyone. Of course, Johnsonville brats. Johnsonville just a couple of minutes away from the racetrack here. So if you're going to Road America, you got to get yourself a brat, double brat, something like that. It's just part of the experience at Road America.
Yeah, certainly. Now, let's look at the championship for today's event because it could be decided today. Phil Dennis has won every round this season, and there he is at the top of the championship standings. Now, very surprised to see the margin he's had. I know he's dominated the season, Rob, but we're only 4 rounds in, man.
Well, I think the big thing is the drivers behind him, Eduardo Barrichello, Braden Eves, Peter Dempsey. They've all had a couple of not-so-stellar races. I don't mean outside the top 10. Of course, Peter Dempsey did have that issue while leading, got into a back marker at Barber Motorsports Park, so he fell down the order a little bit. But Barrichello and Eves have had decent runs, all top 5 finishes in all 3. But Philippe Dennis, as you said, Jonathan, he's just been absolutely perfect. Dominated the first 2 races. The only kind of chink in the armor was Braden Eves, and he battled like crazy on the road course at Indianapolis. Everybody's starting to catch up a little bit to Philippe, but with him, 96 points, 27 markers ahead of Barrichello. A good day here today will clinch him the championship.
Yeah, nice stuff from Phil Dennis. Now, he has won our pole winner award for the last couple of rounds, and that was ahead of Peter Dempsey, who won the pole winner award for the first round. Dempsey's 4th in the championship, the Irishman, and the Dempsey family's been one to be involved with in the Road to Indy for many, many years here. And down the order, I see a man named Christian Brooks in 9th for Exclusive Autosport. That team has been so impressive in this series, and just 24 hours ago, Rob, Christian Brooks ended up with a podium finish in the iRacing All-Star Invitational Rallycross event.
Well, the really interesting thing about Christian, of course, still ranked number 3 by eKartingNews.com as one of the top kart racers here in North America. But when he did make his first steps out of karting into cars, working with Buddy Rice, he made the jump to the Red Bull Global Rallycross program. Actually ran the GRC Lights category, back-to-back runner-ups in the championship fights. He then moved to F4 and now finds himself in the Road to Indy. 19 years of age out of Southern California. He's got that really diverse skill set in terms of racecraft. He's done the Global Rallycross. He's done the F4 program. So both sides of it. And I think that's going to make him a better driver moving forward. We already talked about the fact that if we do get a rain race sometime this year, he's so comfortable sliding the car around, and he'll go back to that Red Bull Global Rallycross experience and draw from that to try to potentially get a wet race win this year.
Now, down at the bottom of the screen, I see Singaporean's Daniel Frost ahead of Cameron Shields, the Aussie. Now, Daniel Frost has had a whole bit of bad luck, but look out for him today because I've bought some stock into the Andretti Autosport driver. I feel like he's going to have an awesome result here and even next week at Mid-Ohio for the final round. But a new driver joining us and talking about those from the Southern Hemisphere is Hunter Mcilroy for the first time.
Yeah, Hunter's a driver that was a big star last year in USF 2000, running with Pabst Racing. He finished second in the USF 2000 championship, came on super strong at the end of the season. And ironically, and this is kind of what plays well for today, he just got his simulator. Pabst Racing, his team, actually based just about 15 minutes from the track here at Road America. He wasn't able to get home when the coronavirus hit and the shutdown started, so he's actually staying with the Pabst family. We're here racing virtually at Road America. He's actually just about 15 minutes from the track in the real world. And last year, this was the track where he scored his first Road to Indy victory. So everything's kind of playing to potentially see Hunter Mcilroy as one of the challengers here today.
Now, motor racing has taken place around Road America since the mid-20th century. It's also been accustomed to a slot on the Road to Indy schedule over the years, and we've had awesome races here in Indycar too, Rob, since 2016. Let's not forget NASCAR, the good old Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series too for a throwback. And this was also a staple on the kart schedule many decades ago as it hosted the Road America 200.
Yeah, it's again, an iconic facility in North American motorsports, 4 miles in length. It's a long racetrack, a lot of great opportunities to pass, and it doesn't really matter what series is here, whether you're talking IndyCar, the NASCAR Xfinity Series. In fact, they used to have, for a number of years, had a major go-kart racing event around the big track as well. Karts running up to 160 miles an hour on the front straightaway. It's really opened its way for everything. They run bikes here as well. It's, again, just an iconic facility in North American racing.
Now, let's not forget to thank our series sponsors. We've got Ricmotech involved, Cooper Tires too, who present the series, iRacing, Extreme Motorsports 99. We've got the Symmetric Driver Performance Labs to hand out the pole winner award, and TSOladder.com for the fastest lap of the race award. But for now, though, we're going to hand it over to Chaplain Chuck Lessick, who offers today's invocation.
Let's pray. Lord God, thank you for waking us up today and just the blessing that today is to each one of us. We're really excited today about this virtual Road America Road to Indy race and just the opportunity it gives us to connect and gather with our Road to Indy family. We just really miss being together at the track. Lord, today we ask you to look over those who protect our health and protect our freedom. And beyond that, we just ask this race be a blessing to everyone here today. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And now, our national anthem. Performing from Dallas, Texas, Russ Ruddock.
Now, the pole winner award, like we said, is presented by Symmetric Driver Performance Labs, and we could be potentially handing that out to Braden Eves, the exclusive Autosport driver last round, Rob, at Indianapolis, fell short of victory by a 1/10 of a second.
Well, I think the key thing right now, Jonathan, is the fact that, remember, we're talking about a championship battle here right now. This is 1 point. It's not a lot, but a bonus point for qualifying on pole. Braden Eves cannot afford to let Philippe Dennis get any of these points. So if he can steal a qualifying point to begin, that's going to keep this championship alive. Braden Eves needs a race win here if he's going to get a chance to battle for the championship when we get to Mid-Ohio next week.
Yep, definitely. Now, Phil Dennis has got about 3 minutes left in qualifying. I haven't seen whether or not he's on the racetrack, though, but Eves is still lapping away here. Those times are quick, around a 2-minute range here in the Pro Mazda, formerly the Star Mazda, and it was been on iRacing for quite some time. How about these times coming in on the left-hand side of the screen? Peter Dempsey up to third, and Corey Enders into the fourth position. Now, one thing we need to take note of here, Rob, is that just like Indianapolis, this track is very draft dependent.
Yeah, big time, because these are two of the longest straightaways that we have in the Road to Indy program, from out of turn number 14 all the way up to turn number 1. You can be 6-7 car lengths back and still get the draft you need, and then you work your way down, of course, out of turn 3, and that big run down to turn number 5. The draft plays such a role here at Road America. If you're in a big group, they can pull away if you don't have the speed to stay with them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Corey Enders, is that an engine blowing qualifying? Goodness me for Enders. Reese Gold's also been impressive this season. All of these drivers will be battling it out for 45 minutes of action coming up shortly for sure. So look out for the Cape Motorsports driver around this 6.5 kilometer circuit. Now, can't wait for the race here today. It could decide the championship. We'll leave you shortly. You can join us here live from the Apex Racing TV commentary booth. Hope you're enjoying the coverage on the MAVTV Motorsports Network. And we'll see you on the other side of this.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
Now, the one thing I want to mention here, Rob, today is that we've had a lot of viewers tuning in to the coverage for the Road to Indy Ricmotech eSeries presented by Cooper Tires. And I'm sure they've been enjoying the coverage. And if we could ask politely that if you want to spread the word about the series, feel free to do so. It will help not only the series itself, but these young drivers just make a name for themselves out there in the public.
Indeed, I think that one of the biggest things that Cooper Tire does, of course, they work with all these drivers to understand the power and the importance of social media. And we really get our drivers to do that. They're all very active on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. So yeah, exactly that. And you know what? The great thing, Jonathan, as well, these are the future stars of the NTT IndyCar series. And I say this anytime we're trackside, this is when you start following young drivers. Think of it if you followed the Graham Rahals or the Oliver Askews or the James Hinchcliffe, you name it, Joseph Newgarden, when they were coming up through the ranks. A really good opportunity to connect with them. You do that by following them on social media. Get a chance to follow everything they do. And again, when you retweet and send information out, spreads the word. We need more people watching this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires.
Well, here it is. Time to hand out our Symmetric Driver Performance Labs Pole Winner Award. You can visit symmetriclabs.com for more information on high-quality driver coaching. That today, for the first time this season, will go to Braden Eves in the exclusive Autosport car. And he was our USF 2000 champion for 2019. And he's in prime position, I should say, to hopefully win this race and claim his first victory for the season. And like we said, he was about a 10th of a second from victory at Indianapolis. He led up until a couple of corners to go. And Road America is a different beast in itself. But now, let's hand it over to Bobby Childs for today's command.
Drivers, start your engines!
So that was Bobby Childs from Extreme Motorsports 99. And Rob, it's awesome to see this going on, and should be ready to go for the pace lap here for 45 minutes of action.
I'm looking forward to this battle again. Look at the same guys that fought it out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Rose Course last weekend. Braden Eves and Philippe Dennis. Both these drivers expected to battle each other as well on the racetrack. Dennis will start on the outside of the front row, but Braden Eves, crucial to get that bonus point, Jonathan. That pole position could make the difference if we have a battle and we get to Mid-Ohio.
And Andre Castro starting from 5th behind these drivers after his bizarre incident at Indianapolis. Thank goodness it was virtual. He was tumbling for hundreds of meters down the main straight. You'll start ahead of Eduardo Barrichello, who scored a number of podiums this season, but we're hoping to go a step better in towards a race win. For David Martinez and Kiko Porto, they'll start behind both Castro and Barrichello on the 4th row. The top 10 rounded out by Reese Gold and Max Kaiser. Now, this grid doesn't surprise me, Rob. We've got, I think, a brilliant pecking order here. I wouldn't say I'm surprised by Corey Ender's qualifying performance, but for him to start so far up, he's the only real surprise so far I can see out of that top 12.
Well, one of the drivers that was super fast at Indianapolis, Prescott Campbell for Exclusive Autosport, he's back in 17th. A little bit surprising he's over a second off. I will give a shout out to the driver in P10, Max Kaiser, just 15 years of age, driver who ran in the F1600 program in Colorado. Great to see him with Miller Vinatieri Motorsports this year. Max has been very consistent throughout the season here in the Ricmotech Road to Indy eSeries. What I'm looking for is, where is Hunter McIlroy? I haven't seen him yet in the top 24.
Yeah, he's down the order. Now remember, only the top 28 drivers make it to the race, but he's scored somewhere on the timing screens. So
I missed it.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that, because he's definitely live on our timing screens.
Oh, there you go. P4. I just missed it in P4. There you go. I was trying to find him on the racetrack, but you said 28 drivers coming straight in. Jack Miller, Ricardo Juncos, not able to get in.
Yeah, excuse me. So Hunter McIlroy was 4th. You confused me, Rob, behind the scenes here, as we're ready to go for action. Now, a good start for Hunter McIlroy, who you said has just received his sim in recent weeks.
Well, that's the issue. At least I'm looking at my screen here. I don't see McIlroy's name actually on the lineup, in the race lineup. It's for at least what I'm looking at from here. Again, drivers working their way around. Again, McIlroy did get that sim just earlier today. And actually, I spoke with him. I did an IG Live, Instagram Live interview with him. And he's been spending a ton of time on that simulator. He knows he's behind the guys that have done so well and have been racing iRacing for a number of years, like Braden Eves, like Philippe Dennis. But he knows that if he keeps putting the time in, he'll be strong. He likes this racetrack. Won here last year in USF 2000.
And we're expecting pit stops, so it will be around 28 to 30 minutes when we're expecting the drivers to run this tank to empty. And they'll have to take about 3 gallons in that pit stop, and it's not something we usually see in Road to Indy. And you know what, Rob? This is a good trial zone for the series. I think we should start seeing it in Road to Indy. We're just going to hire a pit crew for every team now.
Yeah, let's bump the budgets up even more. That's not what we want to do. But when they eventually do get to IndyCar, they will be doing the pit stops. I love the opportunity here. It doesn't cost the teams any extra money having guys going over the wall, but it's a good opportunity for these young drivers to get a feel for putting in that really strong in-lap. Making sure you hit your marks in the pits, watching your pit lane speed, and then, of course, that outlap on the cold Cooper tires. That is what is so crucial. That's what separates the drivers who use the pit stop well and those who may not be able to take advantage of it.
And here we go now through Bill Mitchell Bend for the final time. It's going to be a thriller. 45 minutes of action coming up. You can keep track of all the drivers and what series they race in at the top of the screen. But for Hunter McIlroy, has he had some issues here at the beginning?
Looking for McIlroy. I still see him on my live timing, but not just the one on the screen. We're going to come up out of turn number 14. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Eves on the inside. Your point leader, Dennis, on the outside. It's that long crawl up the hill here at Road America. The crazy thing about the starts here is there's so much draft. You see leaders get passed before they get to the braking zone under the draft. Then the leader going back at it, up the hill. And ladies and gentlemen, we're underway. Green, green, green at Road America. Excellent start for Braden Eves. He'll go to the bottom of the racetrack. Everyone else fanning out. 3 wide coming down to turn number 1.
It's about a 700-meter run down to turn number 1 here. Couple of the cones going astray into the wall, but it's still Eves who leaves from Bill Dennis. Peter Dempsey now into second, and Hunter McIlroy with nowhere to go.
Yeah, Dempsey knows this racetrack well. Driver will come out of turn number 3. It's a little kink turn 2 coming under the Briggs and Stratton Bridge down the hill, under the Sargento Bridge here. And they'll run this long run down from turn number 3, kink turn 4, and one of the toughest places, the hard braking turn number 5, a left-hander back up the hill. It's crucial to get on the brakes correctly coming through this corner.
Oh, this is always a spot for carnage down the Moraine sweep. Into turn 5 as David Martinez on the defensive here. Now Castro and Barrichello were getting argy-bargy on the first lap, but they haven't swapped positions for the moment. If you look at the leaderboard on the left-hand side of the screen, nobody's changed positions in your top 6, but Corey Enders has fallen down the order for sure. And there he is on screen, the American, as he will wrap around the carousel for the first time. And a talking point coming into this round, Rob, is that those left-hand side tires take quite a huge beating.
Yeah, a big part of this racetrack running in the clockwise direction. Of course, the carousel, that long holding corner, through the kink. You're flat out through the kink here, then through the kettle bottoms, all the way down to Canada corner. But as you said, predominantly right-hand turns on this track, and a lot of high-speed right-hand turns as well, where you're carrying momentum. And yeah, the left-side Coopers are going to take a beating for sure. You've got to take care of your tires. A long race for these drivers here. Good battle there, though, between the number 44 of Brooks, Max Kaiser right in that as well. But the 03 of Reese Gold from Cape Motorsports currently holding on that 13th spot.
And now through the final corner, 14 of them around the roller coaster that is Road America. This is Christian Brooks, who just scored a podium in Rallycross 24 hours ago, and 3 wide for the lead.
Peter Dempsey, veteran driver, winner of the Freedom 100 number of years ago, team owner for Turn 3. Motorsports has gone to P1. Look who else is in the fight right now as well. The number 18 of Hunter Mcilroy. Born in America, he's a Kiwi as well, but lives in Australia. Oh, contact coming up through turn number 3. Contact between Dempsey and Mcilroy coming through 3. Carnage here on lap number 2.
So just as Rob called, we saw Mcilroy involved in his first event. We saw Dempsey in there too, who's just fell foul of trouble in the series. Let's watch what happened. Oh, no.
Might have been a bit of an aggressive move there, you think, Jonathan, for Mcilroy. It was obvious that Dempsey wasn't able to get the car. You watch him here. He doesn't get the car down to the apex, and that's going to open the door. And I think Mcilroy says, you know what? You've missed your braking zone. I'm coming in. And yeah, I don't think that Dempsey wanted to give any extra space. Look at Philippe Dennis coming through there cleanly. He was on the outside, Jonathan. Totally took advantage of that.
And Colin Kaminsky was also involved in the incident. That is one of the biggest ones we've seen. Braden Eves is down the order now. We thought he was going to have an opportunity for his first win. The beneficiaries of that accident so far have been Christian Rasmussen and Eduardo Barrichello. And Rasmussen, believe it or not, started down the order, Rob, all the way down, I can confirm, in 16th. He began the lap in 12th. Now, currently, as far as I can see on the left-hand side of the screen, he's up 9 positions this lap.
Yeah, the 22 of Barrichello are going to go down the inside of him coming into Canada corner. They'll come back up through Billy Mitchell Bend, as you had mentioned. Can you believe that Philippe Dennis, dominating the first 2 races, battles hammer and tong all race long with Braden Eves to score the victory in Indianapolis, stays out of that incident that took out both of the drivers from Pabst Racing, both Colin Kaminsky and Hunter Mcilroy involved in that incident. I guarantee you the Pabst family there in Economowalk just are absolutely gutted that both of the drivers who are running in the top 10, running to potentially challenge for a race win, find themselves going to the tail of the field.
What a bizarre beginning. I haven't seen anything like it in the 4 rounds. We've had some pretty cool, clean rounds for the series, Rob. It was only as we watch Max Kaiser here on screen, it was only the rehearsal race that was quite chaotic. If you think back to it, and now a spinner down the back of the order. That's Jacob Loomis coming out of 3.
Yeah, Loomis pinching the exit of turn number 3 a bit there, rolled back on the throttle. He didn't get out onto the rumble strips on the outside of the racetrack. Here's Kaiser having to look now to the inside. This is a good battle with Keon Tandon. New driver as well, but let's have a look at Loomis here, Jonathan, like the incident in turn number 3.
So whilst we watch this, let's see what's... Oh, so Loomis has just lost that all on his own, but whilst he has damage from turn 3, Braden Eves continues with a damaged front wing to that car, and that can limit your straight line speed on iRacing as we watch the number 7 of Corey Enders fly off the racetrack through the hurry downs. I tell you what, if we needed a virtual safety car, Rob, this might be the right time to throw it.
Well, with that damage to the left part of the front wing, he's losing that downforce that you need. And of course, turn number 7 is that super high-speed right-hander that leads down into turn 8, which is hurry downs. He just wasn't able to keep the car on the racetrack. And again, coming here through the kink, flat out. I do want to talk about a good run, though, so far for Keon Tandon, now into the top 10. Keon, a top driver in the karting ranks, Superkarts USA karting driver. He's actually looking to be running for Jay Howard Driver Development this year, so great to bring Keon into the E-Series here. Now, kind of get him a chance to drive with the competitors he'll race with this year. Like seeing Keon here, and obviously looking really good, currently P10.
And tell you what, the battles continue through Bill Mitchell, Ben. And like you say, good to see Keon with a brilliant race so far for himself. Here is Corey Enders coming into the pit lane. Now, I think these drivers are going to want to service these cars as quickly as possible because lap times won't be quick at all. And talking about that, it's Christian Brooks in a nice little scrap here in the 44. Reese Gold behind him. Christian Rasmussen up ahead of these guys. Have a look at them go 2 by 2 through turn number 3.
Man, this is some pretty impressive racing right now. We've got a couple of Road to Indy race winners at the front and back of that group. Of course, Christian Rasmussen, 2 times the winner last year in USF 2000. Daniel Frost looking as racy as he had. 2 times the winner last year as well. He won on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway for Exclusive Autosport in the Freedom 90, also winning on the streets of Toronto. He'll run with Andretti Autosport this year in Indy Lights. But what a tremendous battle. You throw Christian Brooks in there as well. He's been able to get by Rasmussen to grab a hold of P5. Again, Brooks missing the first race, Jonathan, with some issues with his pedals. Got that dialed in and fixed up. And this is getting aggressive. Rasmussen back to the inside. Oh, contact there! As I believe Gold gets together with Daniel Frost coming out of turn number 8.
It's good to see Frost have a good race, but you want to keep it clean. So let's watch what's happened here. A brilliant move, Daniel Ricciardo style up there. And oh no, I mean, you have to throw that on Daniel Frost, wouldn't you, Rob? He's just come bullying his way past the young man of Reese Gold.
Well, it's Brooks and Rasmussen going at it because Rasmussen tried to make a move to the inside of the hurry down. Look at this crisscross. They're battling like crazy. That's his Frost down to the inside of Rasmussen, who went to the inside. More contact there. Hold on to it. That was right behind that group. I think that might have been Flynn Lazier. No, that was Keon Tandon, the 28. He's got wing damage now. Left side wing damage for Keon Tandon in the 28, the Californian, tucking back in. Look at this battle, though. This is what? I want to say 5th all the way back to 10th.
Let me tell you something. Ryan Norman in your top 3 has just set fastest lap of the race. Keep an eye on him. He's only a few tenths of a second away from the lead. And this is a sight we're going to see ever so often down the main straight as the 4 and 28 of Keon Tandon and Michael D'Orlando battle it out. And here's Christian Rasmussen for Jay Howard Driver Development. The Dane has been driving quite well so far in this event. Started in 16th, now up into the 7th position. And I think if I was these drivers, Rob, I would want to go in fuel-saving mode, to be honest with you.
Well, that's one of the things. You got to understand what kind of strategy all these drivers are on. They're pushing very hard. One driver goes off a little wide coming into turn number 5. Christian Brooks has been able to get out of this battle. So Brooks now running P5. It was a hectic one for a while. It's settled down for him. He's got clean air. And then Frost able to get by. There's a spinner further back. That might have been Keon Tandon, I believe, spinning coming up the hill. That's that blind corner. It's a very tough, this corner here, coming up the hill. Blind, you got to turn in. See if Tandon has some trouble. He's side by side with Kaiser. Yeah, just in by himself. And then just went wrong as he tried to correct it.
That's, I mean, the tough part, some of these drivers have been talking about how driving on the sim is a lot more difficult compared to the real world because you don't get that feeling from your rear end as we watch Max Kaiser try and bring that Miller Vinatieri Motorsports car back to the lane. And here's Daniel Frost now heading to Canada Corner. He's been investigated for an incident with Reese Gold. He'll probably face a penalty for that too. But he's got Christian Rasmussen up ahead of him, the Dane. And, you know, the fascinating thing coming into Road to Indy, Rob, because you're somebody who lives and breathes the series, and coming in, I am very intrigued to see the amount of international drivers that are involved.
Well, it's kind of been one of our calling cards, Jonathan, with the fact that with this Road to Indy, we've been able to draw from drivers all over the world. At one point, when we had our scholarship shootout, we had the feeder series, F-1600 programs, other series all over the world that would send their champion to battle it out to see who was going to win that $200,000 scholarship. Hunter Mcilroy was the last winner of that scholarship to move into USF 2000. So we always have drivers from Europe, from down under Australia, New Zealand, or potentially from Europe as well, South America. We've had just so many great drivers come from different parts of the world. That's what we love to see. You'll see different flags up and down the leaderboard at any one of our races.
Now keep track of Eduardo Barrichello whilst we watch these drivers try and work together. Don't go 4 wide, boys. Thank you very much. As the race continues 10 minutes in. And this is a scrap for the 6th position. As they all, the 5th position. Christian Brooks leads the train ahead of the other Christian of Rasmussen, ahead of Daniel Frost and Flynn Lazier. So now this is how the race is shaping out after an earlier incident that took out a lot of the leaders, including Braden Eves, Colin Kaminsky. Let's not forget the Irishman of Peter Dempsey. It's Phil Dennis who leads ahead of Andre Castro and Ryan Norman, who's been a surprise here in the first round. Barrichello is catching up to the train, and he will catch the draft soon enough, which will help him come the pit stop phase and help with strategy. But so far, those top 4, you could count any of them in contention for victory.
Yeah, let's take some time to talk about Ryan Norman. We haven't seen him yet this year, his first run with the program. Actually not scheduled to race in the Road to Indy this year, but he's been a long-time driver in the Indy Lights category, Jonathan. He actually scored a victory here last year at Road America, coming off a win at the Oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Tremendous battle here. We're continuing to watch for 5th and 6th, but again, a great run here.
And Rob, let me interrupt. Is Phil Dennis, our leader, been this RP Motorsport USA car? Let's have a look. Oh no, this is our leader potentially out of the race, or has he just... Well, I tell you what, he's turned that into a pit stop somehow. So he's unintentionally had to pit early. The good news, well, actually, I tell you what, the bad news for him, Rob, is will he make it on fuel if he's pitted this early?
This is what I'm thinking. First and foremost, let's comment on the save itself. Now, that's a corner, of course. You need to come through that corner and get a lot of speed to get the run up the straightaway. So he's pushed as hard as he can. We've seen other drivers spin there, Jonathan. He's able to come back and get it into pit lane. It's an amazing save to not spin and then to turn it into a pit stop. But you said, crucial right now with this pit stop, will he be able to go the remainder of the distance?
So whilst we watch these drivers scrap away for the 5th position, it's Flynn Lazier now up ahead of Rasmussen. And Daniel Frost ready to pounce behind. The leaders change. What a story this is for Ryan Norman from Florida. And he has been... Well, he hasn't officially led a lap yet, Rob, but he's close to it.
Getting close to a tremendous battle because Castro coming back in. But as I said, Ryan Norman likes this racetrack a lot. Won last year running for Andretti Autosport in the Indy Lights program. Tremendous run so far. The storyline heating up here for sure today.
And we'll keep track of this on the other side of these messages.
What a weekend for the driver from Canada. It's a sweet back-to-back jacks for Parker Thompson. Rasmus Lynch, your winner by 8/10. South Kirkwood.
Well, this is the kind of racing we come to expect here at Road America. The drivers here in the Road to Indy program are putting on a show. We've had a bunch of different battles for the lead, but right before we went to break, the biggest storyline was the issue for the point leader, Philippe Dennis, having trouble coming out of turn number 14. Got the car 4 wheels off and up and over top of a lot of the bumps on the outside of the track and the grass. Somehow able to keep the car straight. The car shot across the track. He was wise enough to pull it into pit lane and was able to run a pit stop in. Now, Jonathan and I talked about this before the break. It's pretty early right now still to do that pit stop. We talked about the fact that maybe 20 laps to be able to get in here on a tank of fuel. There is a possibility that Philippe Dennis may have to stop one more time. What this really does, though, because I was almost ready to say, hey, with Braden Eves down the order where he was at that point, he could almost pass the championship to Philippe Dennis. I was literally a lap from saying that, Jonathan, but no, we have that incident, and really it's kind of changed the storyline of the day.
And how brilliant is that, bringing some side-by-side coverage as we see a pit stop here in this race, and it's Andre Castro diving to the lane. So this is something we haven't seen in quite some time, as the lead now is officially going to be handed to Eduardo Barrichello, who needs a race win to his name in the series. He scored a multitude of podiums. But Rob, let's talk strategy now. Castro in the pit lane. Is that a reaction to joining Phil Dennis down the back of the pack? Because I doubt it. Normally we see these pit stops take place around the 25-minute mark.
Well, I find this very, very interesting, especially considering the fact that he was leading the race. It's not like he was getting held up or in some traffic where you might peel off a bit early only to get clear racetrack. He was leading the race. The guys up front really aren't battling each other that aggressively, although as I say that, Ryan Norman's going to go back down on the brakes into turn number 5. He'll retake the lead. Barrichello was thinking about an over-under, but got up over top of the curb on the inside of the track there. That does not work.
Well, thank God it's a virtual Pabst racing car, because the underside, the floor of that car would have been damaged completely. And Nicholas Christodoulou, by the way, we're hearing word, has had a huge incident behind the scenes, which for the Canadian, it's a bit sad to say, because he's having a good run today. He struggled in the sim, Rob, but today he seemed to be having a good day until he collided with, we'll get confirmation on the second driver, but it could have been Antoine Comeau.
Good scrap here right now between Michael Myers and Lucas Cole, driving 7th and 8th. It's number 24 of Michael Myers, the 95 of Lucas Cole. Lucas actually started the season, was at St. Petersburg before we got shut down with Turn 3 Motorsports, taking Antoine Comeau's actual seat at that particular team with Peter Dempsey. Right now, though, Myers with Legacy Autosport holding that position. Lucas Cole, driver, did a couple of years in USF 2000, jumped right over Indy Pro into Indy Lights last year with Bilardi Auto Racing. He'll have a look to the inside into Canada Corner as well. These drivers battling it out. Looks like Myers content to give it up into the corner. Not a bad idea for Myers. They'll work their way back out of Canada Corner over to Billy Mitchell Bend. Again, this is the fight for 7th and 8th. Lucas Cole in the 95 and Mike Myers in the number 24.
So we might have a replay of what's going on here behind the scenes. So we'll take a look at it, but we'll see how we go. Having a few tech issues getting that up. But hey, let me tell you something, Rob. This is just like an oval race. This is what I love about Road to Indy, is we watch Michael Myers here make a move on Lucas Cole, the Brazilian. But the leaders at the front, I'm still, like we discussed, I'm still fascinated that Castro's made a pit stop. He's joined right behind Phil Dennis, but tire wear isn't a dramatic factor in this car. And in my opinion, you'd want to be running the leader's pace at the front. So unless Castro thinks right now that Phil Dennis is running away with the lead, that's the only reason I can think of why he's made that pit stop.
Well, the other thing for me is the fact that does it play to the fact that potentially Philippe could now go to the end? We were kind of worried about it, but only a lap and a half later, 2 laps later, Castro comes in as well. Do they both believe they can get to the end from here? You got to think that Castro figures he's coming to the end from here. So, interesting. Battle up front, though, still continues, but Barrichello, Norman fight it out first and second.
So let's have a look at the replay here. Oh, this is Antoine Comeau, the Canadian. And this was his incident, I believe, with Nico Christodoulou. So let's see what's happened here.
That's a pretty hard wreck coming through Canada Corner. Those drivers, again, that's one of those corners we see that, Jonathan. You're pressing hard at the end of the kettle bottoms. You want to make that run down to the inside. You're pushing super hard, and all you got to do is overcook it. And drivers find themselves in the beach there or connecting on the exit, and that's what happened to those two drivers coming out of turn number 12.
And here's Barrichello for the lead one more time. He's leading by a second here. He's broken the draft from Ryan Norman. This has to be a good time to pit if you're the American of Ryan Norman, and he does. So brilliant decision for him. And Rob, can I just sound cool for a second? I called that spot on right there for Norman. He's joined by Christian Brooks, because look at the leader's pace behind of Phil Dennis. So Phil Dennis, D'Orlando, and Castro right now are lapping quicker, in my opinion, when you look at the timing screens. They're lapping quicker than Barrichello in the lead by over a second. So in my opinion, you want to make this pit stop right now.
And does that play to the fact that potentially the fresher tires are good? I wonder if the guys got tires, because that's one of the differences. It's only a 12-minute pit stop if you want 3 gallons of fuel, but if you want tires as well, it's a 20-minute pit stop. Good scrap here. This is Frost, the number 68. And then the 21 of Yuvan Sundaramurthy, again, another one of the drivers for Pabst Racing. Second-year driver, actually grew up at Economawalk, right where Pabst Racing is, and he's having a really good run. Yuvan, probably the best we've seen thus far in the series, Jonathan.
Yeah, good stuff from Sundaramurthy. He runs this... well, I was about to say something there, but here's Daniel Frost making a move back. These drivers are getting a little restless here during the race, and it's the question of running in traffic, running in clear air, fresh rubber. All this strategy involved makes the road to Indy just that little bit more extra, a little bit more interesting come the virtual world. Now, these drivers do accumulate what's called incident points, and if you exceed a certain limit, you will receive what's called championship points penalties, and if you receive a certain limit above that, you will also accrue a drive-through penalty. And the bad news, Rob, is that for some of these drivers, with all the incidents involved, that can accumulate what's called a 4X if you touch another car. If you run off the track, it's a 1 incident points, and it totals up by the end of the race. So about 25 is when you receive that championship point penalty.
And we've seen a lot of incidents, so I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of people are pretty close to that right now. This is a really good fight here for further back. This is for 5th and 6th. A couple of drivers that we'll see going at it this year in the USF 2000 program. The number 2 machine, Josh Green, out of New York. He'll run with Cape Motorsports this year. It'll be his first season. Yuvan Sundaramurthy right behind him in the number 21. It'll be his second season in USF 2000. Again, running with Pabst Racing for the second straight year. I think we're going to see some drivers come onto pit lane right now. Indeed, this is a wholesale.
Wow.
Drivers rolling in. Frost, then the 95 as well of Cole. Then it's the 2 of Green, the 21 as well of Sundaramurthy, and the number 24 of Mike Myers. So 5 drivers all coming in together. That surprises me a little bit. But again, with the draft, I guess you don't want to be out there all by yourself. You got to have a partner here to get good speed at Road America.
You know, some drivers have been telling me the tire wear is non-existent, but today the way it's gone is that Phil Dennis is promoted into effective leader after what was almost a race-ending mistake. But for now, though, he's scrapping it out with Andre Castro. For Prescott Campbell behind, yes, he's within clutches of these two fighting for the lead, but he's yet to make that pit stop. Same can be said for Flynn Lazier, who runs in Indy Lights, and he's running that 003 car here today. But if you're new to iRacing, welcome to virtual racing. And Rob, these tracks, like we discussed every week, are laser scan. The entrance into pit lane has a bump that some of these drivers, I'm not sure if they run at full speed in the real world that much, as we watch Brooks here.
Well, I've had the chance to race here in a number of different categories, Formula V, Formula First. I ran a kart here. I ran a sports car here as well. And it's wild about iRacing. When you're driving around, you're picking up exactly the same visuals. If you just kind of let yourself go, you feel like you're driving at the racetrack. That's one of the beautiful things. Great run here, as you said, for Christian Brooks on that number 44 machine. He's been able to work his way back to 7th so far. So Brooks for Exclusive Autosport running nicely here. Right behind him is Corey Enders trying to close back up. Enders in that number 7. The stricken number 4 of Michael D'Orlando. You can see the damage to the wing of D'Orlando, but he's been running strong, still into the top 10 now for D'Orlando. But again, pit stops, as we said, we'll see things cycle back in, Jonathan. Surprise to me, not so much a surprise, but Philippe Dennis right back into the fight. Lazier's heading to pit lane, so Dennis is going to take over the lead. He came within, you'd have to think, a couple of degrees of steering input of actually being in the wall as opposed to being in pit lane. That would have changed the championship battle so aggressively.
Yeah, exactly. You can potentially claim the championship, but have a look at Braden Eves behind in the 5th position. and he's made a pit stop, but we're not sure if he'll make it on fuel. So we'll see how Eves goes for the rest of the event. But here's Castro, potentially for the lead. And he'll remain behind for the moment in that 77 car. Castro, like I said, has been involved in some unlucky incidents. We remember round 1, he was in a scrap with Braden Eves, and it came down to the penultimate lap, Rob, where they collided, and it cost Castro a podium. And last round at Indianapolis, involved in an incident that you wouldn't want to see in the real world for sure, but now he's fighting for the lead. It's just the only guy left that hasn't got what he deserves, I would say, is Peter Dempsey so far.
Well, Castro's looking for that elusive race win. You know, as you said, he's just had so many incidents, and a couple of his doing potentially, one not. Just pushing hard. He's a very talented driver, hoping to try to put together the budget to run this year with Legacy Autosport, pushing hard, trying to chase down Philippe Dennis. I'll tell you, though, listen, for a young driver like Philippe Dennis, you know, trying to put together the budget to go racing. He doesn't have the money yet to run the entire season in the Indy Pro 2000 category with RP Motorsports USA. He's just trying to put it all together. This is something, and I know it's the virtual world, I know it's iRacing, but there's team owners that you know are going to take stock in the performance he's putting in here now. Yeah, he's a veteran of iRacing, but he has shown so well here, Jonathan. He's not put a wheel wrong throughout the entire season. That little mix-up over in turn 15 was really the only chink in the armor we saw, but his quick reaction time to head to pit lane could give him the championship here today.
So Flynn Lazier has pitted, and he's going to hand the lead back to these two. We're watching our Apex Racing TV side-by-side coverage. Let's ride on board with Castro for a number of corners here, and let's see if he will claim the lead in that Legacy Autosport number 77.
That's definitely the draft you need coming down the straightaway here. Andre Castro, though, content to stick in behind. Now, I wonder, Jonathan, give me your comments on this. One of my spotters listing into some of the other drivers, I'm being told that both Braden Eves and Philippe Dennis will indeed have to pit one more time. So if Castro knows that, he can run in behind Dennis here, potentially feather that throttle, take care of the fuel a little bit. This could be very interesting if both those drivers, first and second in the championship points, have to make one more splash and go stop before the end of this race.
And here's Yuvan Sundaramurthy. This is with Lucas Cole and Max Kaiser. So these guys fighting for the 10th position. But like you said, discussing that lead scrap, and I mean, I called it before as well, Rob. You know, everybody now in the paddock, virtually, is discussing whether or not Phil Dennis is going to make it on fuel. And the same can be said for Braden Eves. Now, if you're Phil Dennis, Rob, you don't need to go for victory, right? You need to play the safe game, and it's not essential.
So what does he do? You are obviously a veteran of iRacing. You've got a lot of race wins, some track records. Does he let Castro by and slot behind him and potentially try to draft off him? Can you save enough fuel at a track like this by simply drafting behind the guy who's the leader?
Now, the thing is, see, you should be a spotter, Rob, because some of these drivers do run their real-world spotters, as we watched Nico Christodoulou here, who was involved in an earlier incident, just recovering in this race. But some of these drivers do run their real-world spotters. Some of them don't. And if you do have that, it's quite a beneficial factor for you in the race. And I was watching Scott McLaughlin in his IndyCar events, Rob, and he works with JD behind the scenes from Penske. And they are, I mean, the chemistry there is unmatched for sure. And the way they managed their second place at Michigan just goes to show how critical it is to have a team behind you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I commentated on a race last Monday at Texas Motor Speedway with a number of the IndyCar drivers in it, and Oliver Askew had his entire Aero McLaren Racing SP engineering staff helping him out. They came up with a full strategy, and indeed his spotter Brian Robson was on the radio for that as well. Familiar voice, able to work him around that track at Texas, and Oliver Askew was able to score the victory there. And the continuity of having your team working with you and having the same voice in the radio in the earbuds, I think makes a big difference.
So this is a replay. Let's see what happened here to Lucas Cole. Or is it Peter Dempsey? Goodness me. Don't hit the wall. Thank you. The good news is, Rob, he won't have to send an invoice for some of the damage there, because he's a team owner, and I'm sure he's seen a lot of those invoices.
Yeah, I'm sure his father as well, Cliff Dempsey, one of the leading Formula Ford teams in Europe as well. They take care of the drivers for Team USA and Team Canada when they run the Formula Ford Festival and the Walter Hayes Trophy. So that's a family that is actually steeped in motorsports and Formula Ford racing. I love seeing the Peter Dempsey name back out here. It's been a long time since I've called a race that Peter's been in, so it's a lot of fun to have him out here. Not the best day here today for Dempsey, but this battle here is just epic right now. These drivers are scrapping it out. We're talking just inside the top 10 with Nico Christodoulou, Lucas Cole, Yuven Sundar-Murli as well there in the number 21. Max Kaiser, the 24 is in the fight as well. That's Michael Myers, David Martinez, Josh Green. This is an absolutely epic battle right now.
Epic scrap. One mistake can cost you. I mean, I've already seen 6 cars in my eyesight. I don't have to guess how many positions that will cost you. Mike Myers joined the series at the Circuit of the Americas for round 2, and this is Christodoulou, who's under an immense amount of pressure. He's going to give up that spot right now to Lucas Cole. And Christodoulou's on the right-hand side. What am I saying right now? It's Lucas Cole side by side as they head through to the kink.
This is not a place you want to go side by side through the kink. Christodoulou did the better thing there, tucked to the inside. Look at Kaiser. Max Kaiser, the Miller Vinatieri driver, right up under the gearbox. But Lucas Cole, they worked their way down into Canada corner, but again, Christodoulou to the inside. Oh, I can't believe there wasn't contact there. Christodoulou's off. Christodoulou. Oh, big wreck coming out of turn number 14. Huge wreck out of 14 drivers together. Flynn Lazier. Who was the other driver there? We got to get a replay of that. Jonathan, big wreck coming out of 14.
I think it was Braden Eves. I might have caught a glimpse of an exclusive Autosport car. I might be wrong with that. But let's have a look here. So this is Flynn Lazier. Whilst Christodoulou's taking a trip to the hospital. No, it's Norman. Oh, good.
So Norman spins coming out of turn number 14 right in the middle of the racetrack. Lazier tries to hold on to it. Center punches him. That was second and third, was it not? Or was it a little further back? That's unbelievable.
That was a Rick Kelly spin right there. Now we get a replay of Christodoulou here. This was a good little fight, though, to be honest with you, until Christodoulou hit the wall.
Well, you know, I like Nico was getting aggressive, and here's a young driver we hope to see in the road to Indy here in 2020 and 2021. This scrap right here, this is what it was. This battle of these drivers just absolutely throwing the gloves down, elbows up, too wide under the bridge here in turn 6. Sundar-Murli in the inside, Kaiser. Then we've got the number 95 of Lucas Cole, Josh Green, and here's Braden Eves coming back in, Jonathan, in the number 1 machine. So the USF 2000 champion. Watch this. This will be interesting. These guys are going at it, and it seems to be a little bit frantic. Let's see what Eves can do and show him maybe that poise, that maturity of winning the championship last year. Let's see how he picks his way through these drivers.
Be careful, guys. Now, we watched side-by-side coverage. I feel like I saw a man named Phil Dennis enter the pit lane and sacrifice the lead to Castro. Potentially 3 wide here through the kettle bottoms and onto Canada corner. They're going to have to form up here, though, and I'm not sure how Braden Eves has found his way to the top of the queue.
Well, you know what? He let those other drivers, again, get frantic, as I had said. They were diving left, diving right. He stayed on the outside through the kink, got a better run through, got deeper on the brakes than Sundar-Murli. What a tremendous run. This is a display of this young driver for Exclusive Autosport. He is one of the guys we're watching. I've said this before, Jonathan, kind of cut from the same cloth as an Oliver Askew or a Kyle Kirkwood, staying in national level karting at the senior level, not jumping in too young. He's got the maturity, he's got the poise, did some racing in F1600, won some races in F4 as well, but a full-time driver last year with Cape Motorsports. This is the prototype of the driver who can work his way up. You have to have that maturity to be able to run strong, and that run through those drivers. He came through 4 drivers in about a lap and a half. Eves has now worked his way back up to, I think, 8th position now.
Well, joining the queue is Kaiser, so Braden Eves has got one more driver to make his way past. Now, this race is coming towards the final 10 minutes, and we just can't take a break from the action. But so far, it looks like Andre Castro is on pursuit towards his first race victory in the Ricmotech Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. And Barrichello, yet again with another podium. I tell you what, I would rather be consistent any day of the week than be a driver who requires attrition. So good stuff from Barrichello. Let's see what's happened to Enders here as he's fallen foul to some troubles. Now, those two are fighting for... well, they're not really fighting. They're in the podium positions along with Christian Brooks. Daniel Frost now ahead of Phil Dennis. So Dennis with a 5th position, we don't think will claim the championship, Rob. It'll be very close.
I believe, yeah. I don't think from P5 because the points for this program very top heavy, laden up top. It falls down quite aggressively, so this will not allow him to clinch the championship. The key right now with Dennis in P5, remember that Castro came off quite early as well. He was able to run behind Dennis for a bit there. Can Castro go to the finish? I think that's the key right now. Does he have enough to go all the way? We've still got just, 9 minutes and a bit left?
Well,
I don't know.
Look at the lap times, Rob. Barrichello, who currently, by the way, can I also say, holds the fastest lap of the race award. So that's brought to you by TSOladder.com. And let's see if that continues on the screen. I look down for a moment and I look back up and all I see is absolute carnage as these drivers head through the final corner. And I have to take a second look at this, but this is a corner that's ended the races of a lot of drivers. Eve's involved and it was separate incidents.
You know what that was? We've seen it so many times in motorsports. When you're fixated on the driver in front of you, you go where he goes. Essentially coming out here, you can see Braden Eves overcooks the exit. Coming through, he goes 4 wheels off. Kaiser's obviously looking at the gearbox. He follows him off. Sundar Murli follows him off. Josh Green was able to get down to the inside, but when those drivers came back across in front of Green, nowhere for him to go. He center punches them as well. Eves, though, with a handful of wheel, able to hold on to it. He's lost a couple of spots. But I'm surprised that Braden Eves was able to hold on to that. He's now getting chased down here by the 95 of Lucas Cole. Tough one for those drivers for sure, I think, Jonathan, because the incident coming out there, it would have been some really good runs for both Sundar Murli and Max Kaiser. They were running really strongly inside the top 10. I hate it for them because it would have been probably their best run of the year thus far. But again, you get fixated on that gearbox in front of you and not looking forward. Follow that driver right off the racetrack. We've seen it time and time again.
Now, can I quickly add? So Barrichello was a second faster last lap round compared to Andre Castro. And if you're talking fuel saving, this lap round, the gaps look quite similar between the two, but we'll keep track of it for the moment as they cross the line. So Castro there, a 2-minute 5.5. He has to be fuel saving.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to be in the 2-minute 2 range, and have a look at the top left-hand side of the screen, Rob. 2-minute 2.7 for Barrichello. Are we seeing a change of the order here potentially for the lead and a Brazilian who will win his first race of the season?
Yeah, there's just about 7 minutes remaining in this race. And I wondered because, of course, we know that Philippe Dennis had to pit early. He made that mistake. Only went to pit lane instead of wrecking. He was able to get in there, but he had to get another stop. So Philippe Dennis running P5. Castro came in only a couple laps later. You and I were talking about the fact that was he trying to get out behind Castro potentially. We're on board with him right now in the number 77. Let's see who's in front of him. He may be trying to see if he can't use the draft to save a bit of fuel. 7.2 seconds the gap between the leader and Barrichello in second. But as you said, Castro way off the pace right now. Last lap of 2:05.5.
So let's have a listen to Castro. This will help us determine if he's fuel saving or not. We'll have a listen to him at least through Canada Corner, Rob. I mean, you know what? That's just going to be a waste of time. You can already tell he's lifted into the carousel.
Well, simply put, John, he's not closing on that driver in front of him. He should be one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack now. He's got a lap car in front of him. You know he's in full fuel save mode. His best lap, a 2:01. He's running 2:05s.
Oh, he's almost lost it. What a save from Castro.
Full handful of wheel.
When I was a driver too, Rob, when you begin to fuel save, the tires become colder. He's literally engaged the clutch there completely. The engine, you can't even hear it as he heads through Canada Corner. And then the tires, as they become cold, he's had to have a mammoth save mid-apex. And the fact he's done that in sim racing, Rob, it's a lot harder to do compared to the real world.
Indeed, you don't have that seat of the pants feel. And this is a couple of exclusive Autosport drivers now running in the 6th and 7th spot. We're watching Braden Eves and Prescott Campbell. Now Josh Green going at it here with Lucas Cole, the number 95. So close coming through Canada Corner. But yeah, Castro most definitely on fuel save. Last time by a 2:04.3. He is 3 seconds off his fast lap, and Barrichello continues to try to close. He was a full, I believe, 2 seconds exactly faster. He was 7.5 back. He is cutting this down. We have 5 minutes remaining. Andre Castro on full fuel save, trying to score a victory here. Will it be Castro? Will it be Barrichello? What a race so far here at Road America.
Yeah, so this is Josh Green for Cape Motorsports, and these drivers still fighting for points, but it's between Castro and Barrichello for the lead that we want to focus on. 5 seconds the gap between them. Last lap round, the Brazilian was 2 seconds quicker than Andre Castro, who pitted early, and this is another scrap going on with Daniel Frost and Phil Dennis. Now, Phil Dennis is good for fuel. He's decided to make a pit stop, and remember, he came in minutes earlier than Frost, so he had no chance of making it to the end of the event, but that's Dennis up into fourth, and he'll claim some more points here ahead of Braden Eves.
Yeah, Philippe Dennis, I want to say kind of in recovery mode, but to be honest, with the amount of points he has, he'll have made calculations. He'll know where he needs to finish. At this point here, doing a tremendous job. He's working his way back forward. Even with the 2 pit stops, he has worked his way back into 4th position right now. That's probably as far as he's going to get. But you never know. He could end up getting a podium P3 if Castro has to make another pit stop. So Andre doing whatever he can to hold on here up front as these drivers work their way into the kettle bottoms. I don't think we're done yet with Daniel Frost. He's going back on Philippe Dennis down into Canada corner. He's got the inside, which will give him the better.
He's in the pits. Sorry, Rob. Castro's in the pits.
Oh, you're kidding me. Change in the order for sure. Barrichello going to get the lead across the line.
Oh, my goodness me. What a race this has been. I don't even know if Barrichello's going to win this now. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, we talked about it, right? Dennis, of course, with that save in the pit lane. He had to pick pit again. Castro, I don't know why Castro came in that early. That'll be a strategic move, a major mistake on his part, and whoever he has potentially helping out with him with the strategy. Because, Jonathan, there was no need for him to come in. Remember, he was leading the race at that point as well. There was really no need for him to pit early. It's crazy.
And Rob Howden, alongside me, the voice of Road to Indy, will talk to Andre Castro after this event and discuss why that was the case. A very bizarre race so far. Now, what did I say about Daniel Frost? He's been involved in an incident that he certainly was at fault for earlier, but he's had a good event apart from that. I told everybody to look out for this Singaporean driver for Andretti Autosport, and here he is fighting for now what is a podium position. So we're hearing word behind the scenes that these two drivers are being asked to work together, but I think, is this to catch Christian Brooks, who might be light on fuel too? Look at the lap times for Brooks, 2-minute 5.8. I don't know if he's going to make it to the end either.
Well, we have 2 more minutes remaining, and remember, lap time's about 2 laps, so he needs at least maybe 1, maybe 2 more laps. Could be interesting. Castro, long pit stop for him as well, dropping all the way down to the 13th position for Castro, who had led at one point. Barrichello still the leader. Right behind him right now is that's the number 19 of Colin Kaminsky. He's back on the racetrack. Kaminsky currently running, I believe, where's Kaminsky? I think he's up into the 16th spot after that early incident. So Kaminsky at least showing he's got the pace, but Barrichello last time by at 2:02.5, his fast lap of 2:01. Barrichello, will he get the white flag potentially here, Jonathan?
Yeah, certainly. This will definitely be the final lap for Barrichello. And the way it works in iRacing is the checkered flag is going to come out any time after that 45-minute mark. It's a 2-minute lap. And the Brazilian for Pabst Racing, I talked about him not getting what he deserves. He had a lap car to maneuver around there of Peter Dempsey. But he's had a few podiums. He's kept it consistent. And in a race of attrition, the story for this young man has been that he's kept it clean. And look at the Pabst Racing car, hardly a scratch on it in a race of attrition.
What I really like here is off the top of the broadcast, Jonathan, we talked about the championship implications. There's 3 points, of course, available. Fast lap of the race. As we said, there was the bonus point for the pole position as well that went to Braden Eves. Barrichello, has the fast lap of the race so far at 2:01.29 to Philippe Dennis's 2:01.32, I believe. So he really was about 0.03 of a second faster. That's a bonus point he's taken away from Philippe Dennis. If he wins this, he's going to take points away from Philippe Dennis. We may not be done because there's an issue if something happens at Mid-Ohio to Philippe Dennis, we could find ourselves with a new guy on top, even though we thought that Dennis was going to be able to walk away from it. He's still in this battle with Daniel Frost. Final lap, though, for Barrichello.
Wow. This is like the FIA World Rallycross Championship. And yeah, what's going on here?
Look at the lap time for Christian Brooks last lap.
Wow, that is incredible. 2 minutes, 6.4. I don't even know if that car's going to make it to the line here. It's going to be awfully close for Christian Brooks, but one man named Eduardo Barrichello for Pabst Racing is going to finally claim, well, we don't know. I think back to J.R. Hildebrand, so we'll wait until the final corner here. Phil Dennis and Daniel Frost are past Brooks, by the way, but it's going to be Barrichello who wins for round number 4.
Barrichello coming up the hill, ladies and gentlemen, within a bunch of the lap cars, but a tremendous run for Dudu Barrichello. He will win at Road America. Pabst Racing, victorious at their home racetrack. The Pabst family will be rocking and rolling in a kind of walk tonight. Big win there, as we said, for Barrichello. But as you said, Daniel Frost and Philippe Dennis both able to get by. I think Christian Brooks may have ran out of fuel.
He's not going to make it to the line, I don't think, for Brooks. There is your podium. Frost ahead of Dennis. And Brooks is going to struggle here. It's an uphill run with all the elevation change. And he's got another few hundred meters to go. He's already down to 6. He's probably going to lose a top 10 result here.
What a heartbreak for Christian Brooks, who was trying to work his way up the order. He may not get to the line. Again, that's an uphill run. Taking all that run away from that allowed Braden Eves to come up into 4th. He's getting some help. I like it. Jacob Loomis is going to push Christian Brooks across the line.
I really hope that's illegal. Legal, I mean. I hope it's not illegal, because that was absolutely, that's some great sportsmanship from these guys. What a finish to round number 4. We'll take a look at the results on the other side of this, but let's have a breather here behind the scenes. Don't leave us.
And this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip. And these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
To the coverage here for round 4 of the Ricmotech Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires. There are your final results on the screen. And we've had a breather, but finally we can confirm it's Eduardo Barrichello for Pabst Racing who will take his first victory of the season, a well-awaited victory for the Brazilian, who finishes ahead of Daniel Frost. What did I tell you? I bought some Daniel Frost stock, and I'm not going to be selling it anytime soon. But I tell you what, so far, the value's up there. He's come home in 2nd ahead of Phil Dennis in the 3rd position. And brilliant to see Dennis reward Frost after working together to also claim a podium for himself too. For Braden Eves, what a recovery that was in the exclusive Autosport car. They bring home a couple of their cars in 4th and 5th with Prescott Campbell, who was also involved in an incident earlier in this race. And they round out the top 5. So, Rob, there are the rest of the results on screen. Not a good race for Hunter Mcilroy in his first event, who started on the front couple of rows. Neither can be said for Corey Enders. But, man, for Andre Castro at the end of that one, what can we say?
Well, there was obviously some strategy that came into play. We saw the issue with Philippe Dennis almost going off in 14, then being able to save it and get back to pit lane. Too early, though, for the strategy. He had to come in again. Same went for Castro. I don't know why he pit so early in the race. He ended up having to come back out again and get more fuel at the end of that race. But the driver who did play it correctly was Eduardo Barrichello. Dudu, congratulations. It's been a very consistent run for you. 3 or 4 straight top 5 finishes. Tremendous run today. What were your thoughts on the fuel strategy? Everybody else around you had trouble. You were able to get to the end. Impressive run.
Yeah, hello guys. It's a pleasure to be here again for the 4th time straight. I was kind of lost actually. I was just sitting there in P4. I think I had a little bit of damage in my front wing because of the crash they had. I couldn't. I kind of hit Mcilroy after he was already turned. But I thought, I don't know, I was kind of lost in the race actually because I was battling with Andre Castro and suddenly he pits and then he comes out of the pits in front of me 9 seconds ahead. And then I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? And we did the few calculations all right and all that. So I was pretty confident. And when I saw him pit, I'm like, oh my God, that's the race win. I can't even thank my Pabst racing teammates enough. They were all calculating the stuff. Yuvan, he was our race engineer for that race, even though he was still racing. Colin helped me a lot. Hunter helped me a lot. So yeah, I cannot thank them enough.
Dudu, that sounds like a basic Pabst racing deal where everybody always works together. A big victory for you. Can you talk about the way your race car was? How did the tires handle throughout the entire run? And were you pretty happy with the car itself?
Yeah, so basically my quad lap was okay. I was P7. The field was very, very, very close. But after the start, when I had a little bit of a gap, I was trying to reach Ryan Norman because I was P4. But when I realized I was pretty fast, I started lifting a bit. So I was saving fuel and saving tires. So my tires were ready. Even though in the last lap my tires were all good, my fuel was pretty good. I still had 2 laps of fuel, so yeah, it was very good.
Now, we'll bring you more of this interview coming up after these messages shortly, but we're going to say goodbye to our audience from Canada for the MAVTV Motorsports Network, but we'll keep chatting to Dudu online. So if you want to join the rest of the post-race show with Rob Howden, come visit us at the Apex Racing TV YouTube page or the iRacing eSports Network. But for now, so long to Canada.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Post-race interviews here from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and getting a chance to continue our quick chat here with a driver who comes away with his first win in the Ricmotech Road to Indy eSeries. Eduardo Dudu Barrichello, crazy race, we said off air. A lot of unbelievable action. Were you a little surprised by the incident in the first lap down in turn number 3? I kind of figured people would settle in, but it seemed like it got a little hectic early on.
Yeah, it was a very, very crazy race. I did not expect to come first. My strategy worked. As I said, I think my Pabst Racing fellow teammates. That was it. That was very crazy. I was saving my car. I was saving fuel. I was saving the tires. My incidents. I was. I don't know. I'm really speechless right now.
Well, listen, let's wrap this up with one quick question here. We'll bring this in because you also, I believe, with the fast lap of the race as well, tremendous run for you. You win the TSOladder.com Fastest Lap of the Race Award. Congratulations on that. Maybe for you, but more importantly, even you also get that bonus point, which is obviously crucial for you. You get the TSOladder.com pole award, as I said, but you were able to get that bonus point. Philippe Dennis ends up finishing in third. You've tightened things up in the championship. Next weekend, we go to Mid-Ohio. Is that a racetrack that you think you're going to be able to battle at, potentially fight Dennis for the championship?
Well, yeah, that's amazing. Philip Dennis is always fast. So yeah, we'll see. I'll be practicing a lot. And for this race, I really wanted to thank Pab's team. I really wanted to thank the AAA team, which is my simulator team. I really wanted to thank Ale, which has been with me for a couple of years now. I wanted to thank Brazil. A lot of people are watching this. So, muito obrigado aí, pessoal que está assistindo. Tamo junto. I wanted to say hi to my dad and my brother. My mom is watching, my girlfriend. I love you all.
Dudu, congratulations. A huge victory for you. We hope to see you do it as well in real life racing when we go back to competition this year. Congratulations. Well done. Victory number 1.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
Jonathan, this is exactly what we were hoping for here at Road America. So many places to overtake. The racing, it was absolutely epic. We did have some issues here and there, but by and large, it was just some tremendous racing all the way through the field.
Yeah, so we're going to speak to Phil Dennis coming up shortly, who I'm not going to confirm champion or anything. We don't think he's got it done at the moment, but he's certainly on pursuit to that. And Rob, for him, how Phil ended up in third after almost binning it into the wall coming out of the final corner is beyond me.
Well, Philippe's joining us right now in the broadcast booth here. Philippe, we were watching you come out of 14. You were 4 wheels off. I'm surprised it wasn't a wreck. Somehow you were able to get it into pit lane. Can you tell us a little bit about that Code Brown moment? Because that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning on pitting that lap. I just was pushing hard, and that corner is so tricky. If you drop a wheel, then it's just chaos every time, and it snapped on me, and I saved it, and I decided, well, I'm going to pit now. And the thing was, we didn't realize that the fuel calculations wouldn't let us fill up the fuel the amount that we wanted. So a lot of people ran out of fuel and had to pit a second time. So that was a big issue that kind of was a shame, because we would have, I think I was in a pretty good position to fight for the race win.
Well, Philippe, if we look at the provisional points right now, as I said from the start of the broadcast, you had to win, I think, to be able to get it. You weren't quite able to get that, but you did get some great points. Coming back to third place, you got to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I made a little mistake there on the last lap and letting Frost by, but it's no big deal. Happy to get the third, stay on the podium, and salvage as many points as I could have in that race.
What do you think about Mid-Ohio? Is that a track you feel you can go in there and clinch this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I like Mid-Ohio. I think it's going to be a fun race. And, competition is getting stiffer and stiffer every race. But it's going to be fun. Just have to stay clean and work hard.
Congrats on another podium finish. 3 wins and a third place here. Definitely in the catbird seat when we get to Mid-Ohio. Congrats. Well done.
Thank you.
Jonathan Simone, this is a young driver who really gets it here in iRacing. Some issues with fuel, as he's said. It'll be interesting to see how things shake down, because I think Mid-Ohio is going to be an epic battle for the title.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to go down to the wire. You need a 30 points advantage to win the championship there. We almost had the standings up. We'll get it up in a second here once we sort that out behind the scenes, but it is provisional for the moment. But in the meantime, Rob, we've got an exclusive Autosport driver, Braden Eves, who I have no clue how he made it through to the finish, but the exclusive Autosport driver is here for post-race interviews.
Yeah, you can hear Braden laughing already about it. Braden, you were the fastest driver in practice yesterday. You qualify on the pole. You're able to steal that championship point away from Philippe Dennis. But then everything happened down in turn number 3. Can you walk us through what it looked like from the cockpit down in turn 3 with the incident between the guys up front?
Yeah, it was a cluster of a race, to say the least. I had a really good pace. Honestly, it wasn't my best race. I made a couple of mistakes in the first lap, but to be honest, that shouldn't have mattered because of the draft is so strong. So there wasn't really any issue there. At first, I thought it was Hunter's fault, the wreck, because he ended up getting in contact with Dempsey. I looked at it after the race, to be honest. That was all on Dempsey. Dempsey just pinched him down. So it's unfortunate that ended up catching like everyone out. And then with the pit strategies, actually the series limited the amount of fuel we had, and I don't think anyone really realized that. So when we all pitted early, because I had damage, I pitted early, Phil pitted early, but he pitted off a mistake because he almost spun out and like ended up in pit lane.
Indeed.
But it was crazy. So I ended up pitting, didn't even realize, I was just like, wow, that was a quick stop. And then later ended up realizing that I wasn't going to make it on fuel, so I had to pit again. So that was unfortunate. I don't know how I ended up P4, but I'll take it.
It's interesting, Braden, because obviously drivers will start reading the debrief. It was 4 gallons to start the race, and the refill when you came to pit lane was only 3 gallons. So obviously, not everyone read the driver debrief and found themselves with some issues late in the run. You had to pit as well. But, dude, to be able to get back up to P3, this championship's still alive, right? Even though, P4 rather, even though Philippe Dennis finishes third, you guys did a good job in stealing away those bonus points. You, of course, getting on the pole, and Barrichello able to grab the fast lap of the race. So it's still open for Mid-Ohio. What do you think of going to Mid-Ohio? Is that a track that you think you can step things up at?
To be honest, I think I could have won this race had things went different. But Mid-Ohio is definitely going to be, I think, a more predictable race. The draft won't be nearly as strong. It's going to be a lot more single file, a lot less, battling like that. So I think it's going to be a lot more predictable. So if I have the best pace, I think there's a good chance that I'll win. So I just need to put my head down and get some practice and focus on the pace, and I think I'll be good.
Congratulations on a great day, Braden. It's been great to see you up front. Another one for Exclusive Autosport. You had a bunch of the drivers in the top 10. Christian Brooks was in 7th. Prescott Campbell finishing in 8th spot. Well done today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Rob.
So I'll tell you, Jonathan, some pretty impressive racing out there, as we said. But let's bring in Christian Brooks here. Christian, man, you were on pace for a podium finish. Everything was looking great. But I think, like so many drivers, you got caught out a little bit by that 3-gallon limit coming into the pits. Dude, last lap, what did you think coming through the kettle bottoms and just feeling that car starting to run out of gas?
Yeah, well, it actually started happening down the back straightaway. Okay. And it sucks because we had we were quick, and we came from 15th. I had qualifying. We got some 1Xs, which if you drop a tire in iRacing, it doesn't count your lap. So we started 15th, and I was going to finish second. I think I was in second there at the end. And, just ran out of fuel. And luckily, my buddy Loomis was nice enough to push me across the line once I was completely parked. But, yeah, we had a good time. Car was quick. And now we just look forward to the next race.
Mid-Ohio is that next race. Have you had a chance to get on the sim around that racetrack? Of course, we're scheduled to go there again this year. We look forward to getting there. It'll be a triple header for drivers in USF 2000. Is it a track that you've had some time on yet, or is it something you'll be focusing on this week?
Yeah, well, when I use the simulator, I try to stay on tracks that I'm running in real life on the real schedule, so I can stay sharp and stay consistent with those circuits in general. So for me, I have a ton of time on every track that's on the Road to Indy schedule. So definitely going to be putting more work into those tracks just for real life. I mean, I guess what this is all really for in the first place is to keep everyone sharp and having a good time. So yeah, hopefully Mid-Ohio goes a little bit better, and we probably are going to do a bit later pit stop at the next race.
Nicely done, Christian. Good help there, as you said, from Jacob Loomis. A finish put you up to 7th in the points. Congrats on a great day today.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, Jonathan, the championship standings, of course, provisionally, as I'm kind of looking at them right now, doing a little bit of math in my head, it really comes down to just 2 drivers, because Braden Eves now 33 points behind Philippe Dennis. The most points you can get on a race weekend is 33 points. So Eves would be able to tie Dennis, but with those 3 wins, the 3 wins, Philippe Dennis would break that tie. Really, it's just Barrichello versus Dennis when we get to Mid-Ohio.
And everything we're discussing is unofficial for sure right now, as these points and penalties could still come into play. But for the moment, Dennis's dominating championship so far will still go down to the final round. And I'm a big Formula One fan myself, Rob, and I've seen bizarre endings to championships. I think back to 2007 with Lewis Hamilton in his rookie year, and how he literally had, I wouldn't even say one hand on the trophy. I'd say 9 fingers on the trophy, or actually 7 fingers, because you don't have, if you count thumbs as fingers. But anyway, but he almost won the championship there, and he butchered it. So let's hope all the best for Dennis. But Barrichello's putting some good pressure on. But in the meantime, we're going to talk to a driver who would win our sportsmanship award for today's event.
So Jacob Loomis, you come out of turn number 14. You see a stricken driver that you've known through karting for a number of years, Christian Brooks, out of fuel. You decided to give him a little push, come up the hill? Is that what the call was there?
Yeah, so Christian and I were actually in a channel together the whole race, and we were kind of chatting about fuel, and he was getting a little worried at the end there, and as was I. So we started fuel saving pretty much, the last, 5-6 laps. And he tells me, he's like, oh, my engine's sputtering down the back straight. I think I'm done. And we're all kind of like, yeah, we think you are. And I see him kind of just parked across the line there just before the line. And I was like, I got to help him out. I think I would have finished 8th and 8th, 9th, 10th. Didn't really matter at that point. So just help a friend out.
Nicely done, Jacob. Congratulations, folks. Stay with us, folks. We'll have more to come after this quick break.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
So welcome back to post-race coverage for round number 4 of the Ricmotech Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, the iRacing eSeries that's allowed our up-and-coming talent from the road to Indy to duel virtually on iRacing. Big shout-out, of course, to Extreme Motorsports 99. So visit them at extrememotorsports99.com, and you can get involved in some of the best virtual racing available on the iRacing service. And thanks, of course, to Symmetric Driver Performance Labs and TSOladder.com for our pole winner award and fastest lap of the race award too. Now, here is the season finale next week. This is a miniature season finale because there's talks of future seasons coming up, but Mid-Ohio in Ohio, Rob, if in case you didn't know, by the way, is going to be the final round next week.
What I find interesting is we've watched the drivers come through these races, right? We kick things off at Barber and going through the events that we've had. What I find very interesting is the drivers are getting better and better. And I like that because Mid-Ohio is a tougher course. It's not easy to pass there. Really, there's only a couple of places to pass. So I'm glad the guys are kind of dialing things in a bit. This particular track here at Road America, a lot of long straightaways, a lot of hard braking in turns 5 and turn number 13 and 12 and 13, rather, Canada Corner. Yeah. There's opportunities to pass. There's not at Mid-Ohio. It's going to be a lot tougher. The drivers are going to have to place their cars correctly. It could be a bit of carnage, but I do like it as the final round. I think it'll be a lot of fun. The undulating circuit there in Mansfield, Ohio. Looking forward to what will be a tremendous finish. And again, really, as we said, unofficially, a 2-driver battle for the championship, Philippe Dennis and Eduardo Barrichello.
And hey, I tell you what, Rob, for round number 1 at Barber, we thought overtaking was going to be slightly difficult around there, but the drivers had a good race to kick off the season for sure. I can't wait for that one next week at Mid-Ohio. There's a lot of people to thank. Let's not forget to mention our race director, Ryan Cobb, along with assistant director, Johnny Unser. They've been hard at work behind the scenes, especially in a race like this. If you can adjudicate something like that, I'll be ever impressed by those guys, but I'm sure they'll have a laugh about that afterwards virtually. But for now, though, We will see you in a week's time. It'll be 45 minutes around Mid-Ohio as we discussed. That will be the 5th and final round of this Ricmotech Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires iRacing eSeries. It'll be broadcasted on Apex Racing TV as usual, on the iRacing eSports Network and the MAVTV Motorsports Network. Thanks to everybody for joining today's broadcast. Spread the word too if you would like people to get tuned with our Road to Indy virtual series. And for myself, Jonathan Simon, Rob Howden alongside me, the voice of Road to Indy, we will say so long from Road America, America's Spa-Francorchamps, as one person told me during the week. And we'll see you at Mid-Ohio in a week's time.